Welcome to the session, Cutting Cancer Down to Size. On our panel, we have AP Maheshwari, Priya Dutt, Manisha Koirala will be joining us shortly, Bhavna Sironi, and the moderator is Harmala Gupta. Please enjoy the session.
Hello, good evening everyone, lovely to see you all here. And I just put off my cell phone. I hope most of you have your, if not all, have your cell phones off, please. Thank you. This is a session that all of us have been looking forward to, simply because we are seeing so much cancer in our lives these days, and we know that there is a need for more information about cancer. There's a need to share experiences about how to cope with it, both as people who may be affected directly or as caregivers. And we're very fortunate that we have a wonderful panel here who are going to shed light on different aspects of cancer. They've already been introduced to you, and we are waiting, as they said, for Manisha Koirala, who will join us shortly. I'm afraid she's caught in the Delhi traffic, as generally happens. But the sort of the instigation for the session, I would say, is a wonderful book written by Dr. Maheshwari, who's to my right. He's not a medical doctor, but a PhD. But it's called Into the Oblivion, and it's a narration of his mother's journey. She was diagnosed with cancer and subsequently passed away. But both he and his sister have co-authored this book, and they've talked about what they went through. And I think many of the themes they raise are very relevant, and I hope to put them to the panelists today. Maybe I should start with you, Dr. Maheshwari. I'm intrigued by the fact that you have written this book like a novel, really. You haven't used your mother's real name or really used your real name either. It's not so much a biography. Was there any reason why you did that?
In fact, to come to that, I'll have to just make a brief depiction of how and why we have written this book. In fact, my mother contracted cancer, and the most important journey which we ever had in life as caretaker, looking after a cancer patient. And we realized that awareness about so many things itself is a major victory. And what we learned over a period of time, that we have, had we known, I think as caretaker we would have done a better service to the patient. In fact, I'm in police service, so everyone was asking me what is Cancer Connect of a cop. Before I come to it, a small incident or anecdote which actually happened with me. When we were getting our mother treated, one of the doctors told me, Mr. Maheshwari, you are in police. I said, yes. Well, okay. If certain dacoits enter a village and they just mix up with the civic population and you are not able to identify them, then do you just line them up and fire at everybody under the hope that a dacoit will also be killed? Mega, no, we will never do that. Please come, please come. He said, we will never do that. And there it starts, it hits. Okay, the chemotherapy which we are doing, and the many people raise the doubt then why we are doing the chemotherapy where the good cells are also, damaged. Now with this all things started. And as a caretaker then we realized that it is caretaker who protects the interest of the cancer patient. And it's a very important dimension. And what all we gained, I thought we write it down so that we empower the other people. Because when we came across many people, they came to us and whatever we had gained. And if you permit, then I may take a few minutes.
No, can we just move on a bit? I'll get back to you. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Manisha has joined us. And Manisha, I was just saying, I'm sure you were caught up in the traffic, right? Yes. Yeah, well, lovely to have you here. I meant to ask you, even in this book that is providing the backdrop for this discussion. Dr. Maheshwari's mother, was aware of her cancer only accidentally. She was having a massage and someone said, "Oh, well, there's a lump in your breast," and so I think that happens to many of us. Don't you think there's a need perhaps for greater awareness, for more regular checkups? What was your experience?
Definitely. First of all, let me apologize for coming late to it was about traffic. And for me, also it was accidental because I don't think we're trained or it's to do regular checkups. Normally we can consult a doctor or go to hospitals when we are fallen sick or something has gone wrong. We don't have it in our daily thing to regularly checkups, go for checks. I think that is a big point that we need to probably engrave in us now.
Quite right. Well, Dr. Bhavna Sirohi, that brings me to you, because as a doctor you would ideally want someone to come to your clinic with an early cancer so that you can provide treatment and a cure. What do you think is the reason why you are not seeing people early enough? Is it because they're not aware of their family history, the risk factors, that there's not enough emphasis on checkups and prevention?
I think I have worked for a decade almost in the West and a decade now in India as well. And what is lacking is that we will spend a lot of money on other things like going for a party or alcohol or booze or pan masala, the things which are risk factors for cancer. But we will not spend that money for an yearly checkup, which will not cost more than 1,000 rupees. So in the West, what happens is when you turn 50, you get a letter in the post for a mammogram. When you're in your mid-20s, you will get a letter for a pap smear. I was in UK for such a long time, my GP would hound me literally if I didn't turn up for the pap smear.
Right.
So all these things are government driven. So that is not happening in India. So what we have to do is do it ourselves and be aware about it, increase awareness about cancer, and also I call something cancer alert. So if you have some symptoms, any of us, if you have something like a cough which is not going away, which you had for 3 weeks, or if you have bleeding from anywhere, you're losing weight for no reason, don't ignore it. Go and see a doctor. Like a painless lump, a lot of women don't come to the clinic because they think it's painless, it's there, they've had it for 2 years, 3 years, and then suddenly they will come with cancer that has spread to the other areas. So I think that is what is lacking, awareness, which is what, by having this panel itself, I'm hoping is going to increase awareness and help in that.
Thank you. Priya, coming to you, we just heard Dr. Maheshwari talk about the role of the caregiver and how important that is. You, of course, were quite young when your mother was diagnosed, yet you were a very important part of that support team for her. How do you see that developing in India? Do you feel that caregivers get enough support? Because it's often a lonely task, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree 100%, and I think caregivers are the most important. When you look at a cancer patient, I think the families are their greatest support, and I think they are the ones who require the support from the medical fraternity. It could be the doctor, the doctor's assistant, the nurse. I think it's very, very important. And I remember when I was very young and my mother was being treated in the US, the first thing, they sat us down when we were just children. I was 12 years old. And the doctors and the nurses sat us down and explained to us exactly what to expect when we see our mother for the first time. And we were seeing her after a couple of months of treatment. And that kind of prepared us, what to expect and how to react to her and how to address issues with her. So it's very, very important to give that courage and support to the caregivers.
Thank you. Dr. Maheshwari, again, going back to the book, I was struck by the fact that often it was the doctor who was telling you, don't share this information totally with your mother. or, wasn't really breaking the bad news to her, but breaking it to you. So this is a cultural issue in our country, In the West, they are quite clear that it's the patient who needs to know what is happening, and not really the caregivers. What is your feeling on this?
I absolutely agree with you, and it's an important psychobehavioral aspect that you should keep the patient informed. Now, when I said the role of the caretaker is important, now it is called I will call it the family customization, in the sense that first thing which hits a cancer patient is the immunity. The cancer patient is susceptible to so many infections. Her diet pattern changes, everything changes. When you take a look into the psychobehavioral aspect, you have to support the patient. You have to filter your guests who are visiting and try to give a negative feedback about the disease. You have to create the positivity. So we even filtered the guests, visitors who are to come. Number two, we also change our diet pattern according to the patient so that the patient doesn't feel left out. You have to, there's a big issue of hospital infection and the infection at home. When you keep a patient in the hospital susceptible to many infections, so it's better to create a right type of hygiene environment at home. So many trade-offs, so many issues they creep up. So I must say that it is in interest of the patient to keep the patient informed, and if time permitting, I'll go to the other aspects. How we treated her, and she accepted the reality, she assimilated, and with acceptance and assimilation she was able to have a wider comfort zone. And one thing, since the doctor's issue was there, and it was discussed just now, in India our experience is that there are different protocols still. Few doctors believe in traditional protocols. There are new researches, people are trying to sell those researches. There are market forces working against. Something has to be done. There's a wide variety of protocols available and new research is being done, and these researches keep changing. Now, so you have a right doctor to advise is number one. Number two, there's a problem of coordination. When this cancer patient is there, different organs are affected. Now we are told you go and consult the cardiac, or people, you go and consult the people who deal with the bone density, you go and consult the pathologist for various factors which are going out of control. And we came across a situation where different people are advising us different medicines, but they are contradictory, so you need a common doctor who can balance various types.
Well, I think you've raised an important issue, because cancer treatment is a multimodality treatment. So it has to be a team that's looking after you, and there should be good coordination amongst the team. What was your experience, Manisha, when you had your treatment? Did you feel that there was this team behind you, you could talk easily to them, your questions were answered?
Yeah, in fact, by the grace of God, my medical doctor and my oncologist, they both were in tandem with each other, well informed, and the nurses, because I was in Sloan Catering, probably that was, they have years of experience, so I was quite taken care of. Initially, I was really keen to talk to my doctor, and there was no personal response, and there was very short time. But I was insistent on getting some time, because it's when you're a patient, a doctor can reassure you and give you a lot of mental support as well, which is really very essential.
Quite right, thank you. And you need the right information, because there's so much out there, isn't there, Dr. Suroi? And people often are on the net and they're getting information, and there's a deluge and they're confused. But I think Manisha has raised some important points, and the fact that you need compassionate care. In the West now you have communication as part of medical training. You also have nurse practitioners, you have a nurse who's specially trained to act as a via media between the patient and the family. What has been your experience here in India? Do you feel we have something similar growing here as well?
I think there are pockets in India which are doing amazing work. There's no doubt about that. But it has to be done for every single patient, whether that's a below poverty line patient or patient who can afford things. It should be done for every patient.
My advice is that, caregiver's role is extremely important in filtering information, as you said, but it's also important to have the right information in your hand and also ask your doctor for some trusted websites. Internet gives you a deluge of information. You get a cancer, it will say you will die in 6 months, 3 months. But there are cancers which are completely curable. You can't cure diabetes or hypertension, but early stage cancers are curable. So ask your doctor for those trusted websites to go for. And as far as communication, that's seriously lacking in India. So we used to, when I was a consultant in UK, I was asked to go on a mandatory course for communication skills. It was mandatory for every consultant, breaking bad news, and all these things are taught to you. We don't have that in India. So all these things need to be developed to give better care to our patients.
Well, I think you've raised an important point, the fact that actually being compassionate can be taught. It's not something that you just have and someone else doesn't have, but you can actually be taught that. And that makes so much difference. Was that your experience too, Priya? Because you were fairly young, you were 12 years old when your mother was diagnosed and went through her cancer.
Actually, for me, I learned by watching. Nobody really taught me. I think it made a big difference to me to watch her and understand what she was going through. And being so young, and I know there are so many patients out there who have young children who have to go through this, this whole ordeal with them, and how do the children deal with it? I think children have their own defense mechanism, and they are able, somehow or the other, turn out to be much stronger. And that's what happened to me, where I dealt with my mother's illness in a very different way. I was very proud to be the caretaker for a change. My mother always took care of me, but that was an opportunity for me to take care of her. So I looked at it in a different way. It was maybe my defense mechanism, as I was contributing towards my mom's getting better, and was being able to give her that love and care. So I think children deal with it very differently from how adults do.
Right. Well, I think you raised an amazing point. It's often referred to as the gift of caring. We have people say, oh my God, I've become a burden on my family now. But I think there's a different way of looking at it. You have looked after your family all this time, and you're giving them the gift of now repaying that in some way. So I think that's a very beautiful way of looking at it.
Armila, I have to add on to this.
Please do.
Because I did feel guilty of, putting my family into this kind of a situation, and they all were concerned, and I did feel that, oh my God, because of me, they are suffering. But trust me, the caregivers, my parents, my family, and my friend circle, I think it mattered a lot, because they were continuously giving me positive talk, encouragement, right information. So it really mattered. They made my journey, though I initially was feeling guilty, but it made our family more closer.
Right.
So today, whenever we have a little bit of difficulties, we go back to those days and say, oh my God, if we can survive that, this is nothing.
That's marvelous. Thank you for sharing that, because someone who goes through cancer does go through a whole host of emotions. There's denial, there's anger, there's grief, there's blame, and often it comes out on those closest to you.